If you've been telling yourself you're burned out, I want to challenge that. Not to dismiss what you're feeling, but because I think a lot of people have been mislabeling the problem. And when you mislabel the problem, you end up trying to fix the wrong thing. Because in my experience, both watching other people and evaluating myself, most people who say that they're burned out aren't actually burned out. They're just scattered. Burnout comes from pushing one thing too hard for too long. Most people today aren't doing one thing very deeply. They're doing everything shallowly. And that creates a kind of exhaustion that's hard to explain because you're tired, but you're not fulfilled. You're drained, but you don't feel proud of anything you did that day. That's the kind of tired that makes you feel broken. So if that's you, I want to slow this down and talk about what being scattered actually looks like, why rest alone isn't fixing it, and how you can start getting your energy back without blowing up your entire life. All right, let's go. What burnout actually feels like and what that isn't. Let's define this clearly because language matters. True burnout usually comes from a sustained effort towards something that matters to you. It's what happens when you care deeply and push hard and don't stop long enough to recover. I felt that kind of burnout. Most people have, the kind where you're exhausted, but there's also a sense of meaning underneath it. You know why you're tired. What I'm talking about here feels different. This is exhaustion that comes from never fully arriving anywhere. You wake up already reacting, emails, texts, notifications, expectations. Before you even decide what matters that day, something else has already decided for you. I've lived this. I don't know anybody who hasn't. There have been times where I wasn't working longer hours than usual, but mentally I was wrecked. Not because I was doing too much of one thing, but because I was being pulled in too many directions at the same time. And that kind of tired sneaks up on you. You don't really collapse. You don't crash. You just kind of slowly lose energy, patience, and eventually clarity. Your attention never gets to land. One of the biggest lies of modern productivity is that multitasking is efficiency. It's not. It's fragmentation. You're half working while checking your phone, half listening while thinking about what you need to do next. You're half present while your mind is somewhere else entirely. I started noticing in myself that when I could get to the end of a full day and feel completely exhausted, but also strangely dissatisfied, nothing felt finished. Nothing felt clean. Nothing ever felt complete. That's because completion requires focus. When your attention is constantly split, your nervous system never gets closure. And when your brain doesn't get closure, it treats everything as unfinished business. That creates more background stress, even when you're technically off. That's why you can sit down at night and still feel wired. Your body might have stopped, but your mind just can't. Half work, half rest is a trap. Here's a pattern I see constantly, and I've caught myself in it more times than I want to admit. You're never fully working because you're distracted, and you're never fully resting because you feel guilty. So you live in the middle space where nothing actually restores you. I mean, I've had nights where I told myself I was unwinding, but my brain was still replaying emails, unfinished tasks, thinking about videos or photo shoot I have to edit or what I've got coming up and how I need to get prepared, conversations I needed to have, things I forgot to do. That's not rest. That's avoidance mixed with anxiety. That's a dangerous cocktail. Real rest only works when your mind trusts that something meaningful was finished, or at least clearly paused. Scattered effort robs you of that trust, so even when you stop, you don't feel better. Too many good commitments will drain you. Most people don't need better time management, they need fewer priorities. Every yes costs you energy, even good yeses. I've had to confront this personally. There were times when I was involved in too many things that individually made sense. Work, creative projects, family responsibilities, obligations. but collectively they were draining the life out of me. None of them were bad. That's what made it hard, but together they were unsustainable. When everything matters, nothing gets your full attention. And when nothing gets your full attention, you start to feel like you are the problem. You're not, your system is. Consumption without creation is exhausting. This one surprised me when I finally noticed it. On days where I consume too much, whether it be social media, news, videos, opinion pieces, and I don't create anything, my energy just seems to tank. Not because I'm lazy, but because my brain is full, but unexpressed. Information without application creates anxiety. Input without output overwhelms your nervous system. Now, looking back, it's just simple math. Creation organizes the mind. It gives your thoughts somewhere to go. And if you're constantly consuming ideas without turning any of them into action, your brain never gets relief. It never gets the release. You're not tired. You're just overloaded. Boundaries create energy, not motivation. For a long time, I thought energy came from motivation, especially when I was younger. It doesn't. It comes from containment, from knowing when something starts and knowing when it ends, from being unavailable sometimes, even to good things. When I finally started putting limits around my time, when I worked, when I didn't, when I said yes, when I said no, I didn't magically get more hours, but I did get more clarity, and clarity brings calm. Boundaries aren't about being rigid. They're about protecting your attention, and attention is where energy regenerates. Why rest alone isn't fixing this. A lot of people say, I just need a break. And sometimes that's true. But breaks don't work when the underlying structure of your whole life is still chaotic. Rest without simplification doesn't restore energy. It just delays the burnout. What actually helps is reducing the number of directions your attention is being pulled. One priority, one focus. One thing you're allowed to care about deeply for a while. That's when rest will start working again. How to start unscattering your life. Practical, not dramatic. This doesn't require a massive overhaul. It starts with subtraction. Ask yourself, what no longer matters? What am I carrying out of guilt instead of intention? Where's my attention leaking unnecessarily? Then choose one thing, one project, one habit, one commitment, and give it your full attention. Not forever, just long enough to feel momentum. Energy returns when your attention has somewhere to stay. So if you feel burned out, don't immediately assume something's wrong with you. You might not be weak, you might not be lazy, you might not be failing. You might just be scattered. And the fix for that isn't pushing harder. It's choosing fewer things and showing up more fully. Simplify. Protect your attention. Let go of what no longer matters. That's how your energy comes back.